Shabbat Shalom. This is March 21st, 2020. This is a Torah Thoughts for the Torah portion Vayakhel assembled. That's Exodus 35, 1 through Exodus 38, 20. Now, the topics that I'm going to cover briefly are some of the Shabbat regulations, contributions, and making of the tabernacle. Now, these are what I felt impressed upon me. These are not gospel. This is Old Testament. Yeah. But this is the impressions that came to me and things that I thought I'd discuss. Since we couldn't meet today, I just thought I'd throw something out so we could feel somewhat connected. Now, the Shabbat, as discussed here in Exodus 35, 1 through 3, is that you labor 6 days, and the seventh day is rest. Do not light a fire in your dwelling on the Sabbath day. Now, a lot of discussion goes about what's it mean to light a fire. Well, build a fire. But it's a lot more than that. A lot of feeling towards the fact is that this was a form of preparation for work or to work, or it was something that was designed that it would not be like for everyday need. Although, if it was cold, I can't imagine, some poor, guy up in the middle of the Arctic Circle not being allowed to make a fire on a cold day. Anyway, the idea was that you weren't going to work. The seventh day, you rested. Now, for me, it means that I don't do business. I try not to spend money. I don't take any business in. I have a small internet business, and I don't do customers on Saturdays or Friday nights. It's Shabbat. I just don't. So that's, how I observe it. We'll discuss a lot more of Shabbat when we get into Leviticus. But the idea is that, seek what God would have you do in reference to how you observe Shabbat. The big thing is we get an example in Mark 2 in 23 through 28. One Shabbat, he was going through the grain field. This is Yeshua. And as they made their way, his disciples began to pluck heads of grain. The Pharisees were saying to him, "Look, why are they doing what is not lawful on the Sabbath?" That was, of course, Pharisaical law. And he said to them, "Have you never read what David did when he was in need and was hungry, and those who were with him? How he entered the house of God in the time of Abiathar the high priest and ate the bread of the presence, which it is not lawful for any but the priests to eat, and also gave it to those who were with him. And he said to them, the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. So the Son of Man is Lord of even of the Sabbath." Now, big thing here is that, let's not get bound up trying to make another fence. We have a creation command, observe the Sabbath. There's not a lot of detail on how to do that. So seek, what Yahweh would have you do. Now, we're jumping to, the making of the tabernacle and the contributions that were involved in that. Now, in Exodus 35, 4 through 9, Moses said to all the congregation of the people of Israel, "This is the thing that the Lord has commanded. Take from among you a contribution to the Lord. Whoever is of generous heart, let him bring the Lord's contribution, gold, silver, and bronze, blue and purple and scarlet yarns, and fine twined linen, goat's hair, tanned ram skins, and goat skins, acacia wood, oil for light, spices for anointing oil and for fragrant incense, and onyx stones and stones for setting, for the ephod, for the breastpiece." Now, the idea is that it's a free will offering. It wasn't a command, of demand. It wasn't like the half shekel ransom that was required earlier on. That when the census was taken, this was a free will offering. If you felt lead, actually, if you felt silver, gold, or bronze, you could give it. Yeah, forget the lead. Anyway, but in the effect was such that in Exodus 36 we see that Bezalel, Oholiab, and every craftsman in whom the Lord has put skill and intelligence to know how to do any work in the construction of the sanctuary shall work in accordance with all the Lord has commanded. And Moses called Bezalel and Oholiab, can't imagine those names, and every craftsman in whose mind the Lord had put skill, everyone whose heart stirred him to come to do the work. And they received from Moses all the contribution that the people of Israel had brought for doing the work on the sanctuary. They still kept bringing him free will offerings every morning, so that all the craftsmen who were doing every sort of task said to Moses, "The people bring much more than enough for doing the work that the Lord has commanded us to do." So Moses gave command, and word was proclaimed throughout the camp, "Let no man or woman do anything more for the contribution to the sanctuary." So the people were restrained from bringing, for the material they had was sufficient to do all the work and more. So to me, this is really an indicator that when in a righteous appeal for material, for wealth, treasure, or whatever is asked, be a righteous cause, people are going to give. So this is something that we can do, and understand that, give if you feel like you need to give. Okay, so they were asked to stop giving, and then going on with the construction, what impressed me was this skill was given to the designated workers. In Exodus 36:2, and Moses called Bezalel, Oholiab, and every craftsman in whose mind the Lord had put skill, everyone whose heart stirred him up to come do the work. Now we get this in Exodus 31, which I think is really neat. This is 31, 1 through 3. And the Lord said to Moses, "See, I have called by name Bezalel, the son of Uri, son of Hur," rabbit trail. Remember Ben-Hur, son of Hur? It's Ben-Hur. Nothing to do with the chariot race. "Of the tribe of Judah, and I have filled him with the Spirit of God, with ability and intelligence, and with knowledge and all craftsmanship, to devise artistic designs, to work in gold, silver, and bronze, in cutting stones for setting, and in carving wood, to do work in every craft." So it says here, I have called them by name, and I've filled them with the Holy Spirit of God. Well, this is in Acts 2. This is Exodus 31. The Spirit filled these guys to be able to do what they needed to do. Gave them intelligence and skill and the knowledge of the craftsmanship. Now, I'm sure some of these guys may have been craftsmen back in Egypt, but, there was never a tabernacle built unto Yahweh before now. So this was all going to be brand new. The plans were shown to Moses on the mountain, and Moses, he didn't have a PowerPoint or, display or anything to show these guys how it was done. Basically had to explain to them what God had showed him and told him to do. And so these guys had to take what it was. Moses wasn't going to, do any of the construction. It was these designated guys. And a point that comes to me is that when God has, Yahweh has asked us to do something, moved us or motivated us to do something, He's going to equip us to do it. So the idea is that we, trust Him to show us. Now, in my own life, I've got some examples back in the 70s. That's in the last century for you younger types. We were stationed up at Colorado Springs at Fort Carson with the 4th Infantry Division. At the time, I had what was called a wrench ministry. I worked on cars. We had people in the fellowship that couldn't really afford to get the cars worked on, or they had cars that had been worked on but still didn't work, or had problems with, or people like missionaries coming through, and stuff like that. And I'd work on their cars, and much of the time, in fact, most of the time, I'd just get what I called a word of knowledge to, okay, this is the problem. The thingamabob isn't working with the thingamajig, and the whatchamacallit is, got to be replaced. So lots of times parts would be donated. Sometimes things that didn't work. But as a rule, by and large, I can't think of any time it didn't, the cars would be fixed. And it was great. It was really great that, Yahweh would seek and help these folks. And I was that skilled workman that was able to repair these things. That was a real blessing. Later on, when I was volunteering for the Habitat for Humanity, on the Wednesday, Thursday crew during the week, Wednesdays we said we fixed the things that were done on Saturday, and in Thursdays we made more progress. But I was skilled in finish and trim work. We didn't use a lot of power tools. I had a lot of hand tools. Still do. But I was able to, fix things. I'd look at stuff and say, how did they manage to do that? And then I would fix it. Sometimes it was just like, okay, I don't know how I did it, but I did it. And I'm sure, Gavino, has a lot of these moments where he's working on something and looks at a tricky joint or an install and says, I don't know how that's going to happen, and then, it happens. Yahweh blesses us in doing that. So the thing was, my impression is that, if I feel moved to do something, I'm going to try to do it because I'm trusting Yahweh to show me the skill and give me the knowledge to be able to do it. That's why the tabernacle was made. There wasn't an example that was done previously. And the question that came up, why the tabernacle? It was a place that was made holy by Yahweh for himself to interact with his people. So that's the thing is, Yahweh wanted to have a place where he could, hey, this is where I'm at. Not to mention that the cloud and the pillar of fire really showed, a tangible presence. But the fact was that this was holy ground. He made it holy. It wasn't made holy by the craftsman, but he made it holy. So in understanding that, Yahweh's got his plans. He has his intentions. His desire is that he wants to meet with us. And I believe, and my feeling is that my desire is to walk in his loving instruction so I can please him and be of benefit to me. Again, Shabbat Shalom. I hope this was of some thought-provoking for you. If you want to leave a comment, I don't know where you're going to do it, but I'm just going to post this and send it out to our Shabbat group. So, Shalom.